Well, hello, and thank you for joining us again this morning. I don't even know if it is morning actually, but it's morning now. So for Alchemy VA in conversation with, and today I have got the incredible Karina Scott from Girl About Social, and we're going to be delving through time together today. So hi, Karina, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Very excited about today. Very excited. I put my headband on especially for you, Suzy.
It's strong. I kind of want one. I love it.
Amazing. It's amazing. It's actually this local like black-owned business that made them. It's a perfect thing for lockdown hair. So add a bit of
Oh.
sparkle. There you go.
Well, I think you might have to share that link with us because it's like part headband, part crown, isn't
Yeah,
it? I love it.
isn't it?
It's
It's quite heavy
brilliant.
as well, actually. Quite heavy like a crown.
Well, we will put a link to that in the comments for sure. But before we get too deep, tell us about you. Tell us about your business and what you do predominantly.
So I'm Karina. I am the founder of Girl About Social, which is a content marketing agency that collaborates predominantly with SMEs to help support their marketing and social media strategies. So what we like to do is come in, work with our clients to make sure that they are getting the best out of social media, whether it's looking at engagement, followers, campaigns, launching a product, you name it, we can help, basically.
Amazing. Quite a kind of broad array of things and people there. So that's really, really amazing. And I would really like to know more about you as an individual and your journey, because I don't know if it's the right phrase, but you're a kind of lockdown business birth as well.
It's true. Yeah.
So can we kind of jump back? Can you tell us what this time last year, what your life and your work and your business was like? A year ago, where were you?
So a year ago, it was just the cusp of lockdown, weren't we really? It was kind
Yeah.
of like whispers of it, but we didn't really know what was fully going on. And I was actually freelancing this time last year. I'd actually lost my job in October 2019. So I had a 6-month freelancing contract that I was absolutely loving. And it was my first time being in freelancing world. I was quite ignorant to it before, actually. I kind of thought with freelancing was every day you had to find a job. So I just didn't understand it, but actually that isn't the case. So I was working on a 6-month contract, and we were getting to a point where the work was starting to get a little bit slower. Dates were starting to get pushed back, and it was all a bit like, or what, something's happening. And obviously we're all quite nervous, weren't we? No one really knew what was fully going on. But again, like trying to stay positive. So I was freelancing, I was working in marketing at the time, but yeah, it was a bit like, oh, something's happening, but we're not quite sure what. Little did we know what was going to happen.
I know. Do you know what?
For us to later.
It's so strange, isn't it? Because I think the past year has definitely felt a lot longer, but a lot shorter. It's like this weird
Yes.
time warp that we're in, and it's really bizarre to think back. Actually, yes, we were just like, oh, what is this?
You're like, Corona, don't worry.
Corona.
Yeah, it was kind of what was happening. I think some things were going on. I know a couple of people were starting to work from home, weren't they? And people were kind of getting ready for this thing. But I guess no one knew how big it was going to be. And I agree with you. I feel that we went from March to August to December, and now we're in March again. Like I don't really remember anything else in between, really. It was like 2020 was just 3 months. I think that was all it really
Yeah,
was.
I think that's a fair assessment. And do you think it was the kind of uncertainty around COVID that impacted your freelance work, the contract that you were on then?
Completely. That was the reason why it ended. It ended because what we were working on was events, and
Ah,
events weren't a thing anymore. And I actually remember I was working with a company to host, or actually a venue, I should say. And I remember them sending us this really kind of like dismissive email about coronavirus. And they were like, oh yeah, don't worry, we've got things in place. Don't worry about it. But we were about to host an event for 500 people. So the idea of that now is mind-boggling, isn't it? Like 500 people in a room. But I remember it just being like, oh, don't worry, like, you know, we've all got some hand gel. And we were like, oh yeah, okay, fair enough. And then suddenly it was like, no, you'll never see a
oh.
person again. No.
I mean, in you know, I know you share this view with me. I'm a glass overflowing kind of girl. There is always a silver lining, and
Yes.
but I think there was like this kind of very British stiff upper lip optimism about it, wasn't it? I've seen some news clips of people recently just saying, oh, it's nothing to worry about in the UK. It's like, oh, well,
keep calm, carry on, wasn't it? We were like, it'll be fine, like we'll be fine, and we weren't fine.
we weren't. Then it was like lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we weren't. Oh, it'll be fine.
So how did you find your silver lining then? That contract ended. Was that the birth of your business?
It was. I did spend a couple of months completely unemployed. So March until May, they were quite hard. I continued to stay positive. I continued having a routine, because that was really important to me, was to make sure that every day I was doing something. And I think it's one of those things that even if it meant getting up and doing a workout, it meant that I achieved something, because it's hard, isn't it? When every day rolled into one and you didn't have, you go from, I mean, I've been working like for 10 years or something. So you kind of then go from suddenly to never working. It was like, oh, what do I do? So I was looking for jobs, and every job that I was looking for, applying for, the budgets were low, because obviously the businesses didn't have the money for a marketing team. I mean, marketing in the creative industry as a whole were quite hard hit by the pandemic. So I could see all these businesses that were looking for marketing help, and I knew I could do the job, but at the same time, I needed the salary because I still need to live. So that's kind of where Girl About Social was born, because I thought, how can I offer my expertise, offer my support, but within a budget that suits all these different businesses. And a lot of them don't always need someone, 24/7. You don't need to be there 7 days for 40 hours a week. A lot of it is you come in, you work, and then you go. So kind of, if you can't beat them, join them. So I was like, right, what can I do? So I just thought, I can do this. I'll just offer it to you at a price that works for you. And I guess the rest is history, really. So
oh, amazing. I love that. And a true entrepreneurial spirit there, like just seeing the opportunity, and despite all the chaos, taking that opportunity and running with it. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? And
I think because we didn't have the safety net, so because I didn't have a backup, it wasn't, I think sometimes the fear, isn't it? It's starting a business is, well, how can I pay my bills? How am I going to succeed? But that was taken away from me. And actually for that, I am quite grateful for 2020, because I wouldn't be here if we didn't have the pandemic. Because why would you? It was a comfort. I was freelancing. It was a great campaign. I was working. I loved it. And then suddenly that was taken away. So it just became fight or flight. And I just was fighting. I was like, I just need to keep going every day.
yeah, I love that. And I think you're right. It's once you commit to something, you make it happen, don't you? Like there's no, I think I've seen the kind of premise of a safe, secure job crumble this past year, because suddenly employed life doesn't seem as comfortable and secure as perhaps it was once or perceived to be. And you're right, once that's taken from you, you've got the choice. You either let it beat you or you own it.
Completely. And you're right, actually, when you say that about with sort of a permanent position, the idea for me now is that I almost relied on one company to pay my entire salary almost blows my mind, because at least now, if you lose a client, obviously it's awful and you do have a bad day, but actually you're focusing on, okay, I just need to replace this X percentage, and suddenly chunking it up becomes a lot more manageable, doesn't it? You're like, okay, I can go out and get that, not, well, that's it, what am I going to do, how am I going to pay my mortgage? Suddenly you're like, okay, fine, maybe next month I don't go out or something, but it's okay, like we can keep going, it's manageable. But when you're relying on that one thing, it's not that manageable anymore.
You're absolutely right. You've kind of triggered something in me there, because I think when I reflect on my upbringing, it was you go to school, you pass your exams, you go to university, you get a job. That was the path. And I don't think that's uncommon, but actually, and I see this all the time in conversations I have with potential franchisees who want to come and start their own alchemy business. It's like, it's this big risk starting a business. But actually, from what you've just said, and I agree wholeheartedly, and I'm not saying it's not a risk, but actually it's quite a calculated one, because you're right, your eggs are not in one basket. And here's the key thing for me: you are in control of that.
Yes.
You're not getting fed a salary, you're going out there, you're earning it, you're taking on as many clients as you want or need, and that's in your control how that flow works. And and we know that, but still that there is that perception that starting a business, so many people, I mean, it's admirable and it's definitely not for everyone, is it? But
no, not at all.
when you put it so eloquently that actually it's not perhaps as scary and as big as people might think.
Really, and I think this year, or I should say last year, I really showed that, because and I've had the same conversation with friends where they're kind of still looking for that quote unquote stability, and it's like, you can't get that stability in a permanent job, because it sounds weird, but I almost like the idea now that I'm not waiting for that HR conversation. I will know when that conversation is coming, because you're a little bit more in control of when a client's going to say, look, so I'm struggling, like, something's happened, or, the campaign comes to an end. Either you're aware that you're working on this for 6 weeks or 6 months, and and even, you have a bit more control of when that's going to finish, whereas before you just sit and you wait, and then you get an email or you get pulled into a meeting and suddenly it's like, oh, we have to let you go. And you're like, what do you mean? Well, that's it, and it's done. And I think I'd like to see, the way the world is moving, that we actually become more within freelancing and consulting, because, and you said it actually in one of your other videos with, I think it's either with Sarah or with Catherine, when you were talking about the 9 to 5. And now we're not constantly trying to prove ourselves for a salary, to be like, no, I've worked this hard. And, if you do this well, if you do your 40 hours a week, then you could get a bonus.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. But at least now you've got a bit more control of, like, this is how much I'm worth, not what someone else is telling me I'm worth, which is really hard, isn't it?
You're absolutely right, and kudos, thank you for watching previous conversations, that's nice, but you're right. I think actually if you look at this, I mean, I bust this out all the time, it's almost a cliche. You see hope and an opportunity, or you see fear and chaos, and you could argue that this has been an incredibly empowering time for those reasons. And and I know Catherine and I talked about the whole power of a small business, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. We're a small business and proud. Most of our client base are smaller enterprises, and I think now is the time for those businesses, because we can adapt, we're lean, we can innovate, and if a contract ends, you've got that time, you can upskill yourself, you can learn, you can grow, you have all of that at your disposal, as opposed to just sitting around and waiting for permission. In a way, you're right.
Also, I think the stigmatism behind a small business has changed as well. Before it was, you'd kind of try to get an address somewhere in London to look impressive, but actually now it's like, it doesn't matter because everyone's from home, or having a landline because having a mobile number was unprofessional. It's like, but why was it? The main thing is someone could ring me 24/7, regardless of my landline or if it's my mobile. And I think that's definitely changing with time. And I've had a couple of conversations about that, where there's even down to email signatures or your email address. And I think now it's like, for me personally, I'm bothered about if a person can do the job. I don't care if your email address has your domain or not. Like, the main thing is, can you do what I've asked you to do, not kind of how impressive these small things are that are kind of materialistic. It's like, I think, and like you were saying with small businesses, that's changed, because people want the small businesses because it makes it a lot more personal, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And this whole kind of supporting local and independent movement is just really ramped up, hasn't it? And you're right. I think this whole I don't want to focus on the pandemic too much, but it's kind of here, we have to, and it's made us all a lot more human. We're a home-based business, and I've always worked really, I'm an always on kind of girl, so I have to work really hard to get those boundaries in place. And I've always kept my work and my life as separate as I can, for my own sanity. And once upon a time, I would have had literally a panic attack at the thought of my kid coming and joining a Zoom meeting. It would have just sent me over the edge, because I had to keep things so separate. But now I'm like, do you know what? The cat's here, the kid's here. What can I do about it? And it is quite liberating in that respect, because that does not impact the way that I do my work.
No, and actually, why did we care? Like you said, and I think
Yeah.
you're so right, because the last year you're at home, you're physically now, like as you and I are talking right now, you're seeing into my personal life. Like, this is my living room, this is my kitchen, this is where I live. But you never had that before. It was kind of, you were in an office and you wore office clothes, or they were different to your personal clothes, or, you know, you'd have some people change their name, didn't they? There might be Rebecca at work, but Becky, you know, when they're in the afternoon or something. So I think you're right. I think the last year has completely changed, and now everything becomes a lot more fluid, and we're all a lot more accepting, because it's like, actually nobody cares, and that's the same, you know, within marketing as well. You know, when the people now, you know, all customers and the audience want to see behind a brand, or want to see a real story, and they want to see what you're actually up to. That's why influence, they don't want it to be polished. They want it to be like, I've just woken up, here I am on, you know, just chatting to you on a live. It's all like la la la. Like, polished isn't a thing, she says with her sparkling headband.
Oh, I mean, no, I mean, I can see this. We need to get that on a quote card. Polished isn't a thing, but there's polished, and then there's glorious headband. It's not even comparable.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, I haven't got pajama bottoms on, so it's fine. So it's like,
Cool. I mean, yeah, same here. Same here. Working from home perks. But I mean, so tell us a bit more about where you are now. So we know kind of what's led you to here. So tell us a bit more about kind of what life is like for you now, beyond what we've talked on, what the business is doing, and what kind of things you're working on, and tell us a bit more about you.
Do you know what, it's going really well, which is weird to say, because I think you kind of try to play down your like strengths or achievements, don't you? It's a weird thing to be like, yeah, I'm doing great, like and it's going really well. I'm working with an amazing group of clients, some B2C, some B2B. My background is B2B, so that's kind of the bread and butter, and I love it, but at the same time my interests are B2C, so it's quite nice to have an opportunity to do more in what I absolutely love, again, within work and my personal life. And I'm just like, do you know what, I'm genuinely so grateful. Like, I wake up every day. At the moment you're a bit like, I just want it to be the 21st of June so I can just go out, but before that, like, I love waking up. I like working from home. I know a lot of people don't. I really enjoy it because I love the fact, again, with what you said, I mix it all in. I can pop a wash on, my misguided parcel can arrive, but then I'm still having a Zoom, so I love that side. And yeah, I'm generally just like happy. I'm feeling really positive. My year's birthday is in July, so I'm kind of now looking at new exciting things to do. I'm just planning actually for the next year, because obviously the first year was quite reactive, I guess. It was kind of just keep going every day, just say yes to clients, just keep going. So I'm using this time at the moment between now and July, and I'm looking at kind of changing my website, because I've never really changed it. I kind of set it up and just ignored it. So kind of changing that bit and getting my case studies ready, and just so when I feel that when I get into July, I've got a plan. Because I am a planner, and actually I haven't had a plan for a year. So actually I'm like, right, okay, let's kind of get back to how I like to work, rather than this kind of, everyday kind of movement, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm with you. You know, I'm a planner. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's really important. But actually, and I think that's one of the things that I've personally found quite difficult about this time that's passed, is the planning becomes a lot harder, because everything has been so fast paced and so slow, and so, you know, there's been so much uncertainty, disruption, and change. It has made it a lot harder to plan, and I kind of admit I've maybe fought that a little bit. But I love do you know what, let's deal with today, be grateful for what we have.
It's definitely like an underused word, isn't it, gratitude?
Yeah. So, and I'm going to misquote this, but it's the kind of gratitude turns what you have into enough. That's the principle, isn't it? And I really like that. And I think, again, I've leaned into my gratitude a lot recently, because you can easily chaos or opportunity, you can easily drop into the chaos, can't you, and be like, oh, I can't do this, I've lost my life, I can't do this is not happening. But actually, we've still got, I mean, without getting too deep, we've all been kind of forced to reevaluate and reassess what really is important, haven't we, throughout this? I mean, at one point it was like, oh God, where am I going to get loo roll from? You know, it was really like, it was, wasn't it?
Will I eat next week? No, you're right. And I think you and I spoke about this before, when it comes, you know, with the whole thing like manifesting and stuff like that, like, and very similar to, I guess, with the BNI, you know, sort of give as gain, whereas actually what you give is what you get back. So actually staying positive and being positive and kind of giving that out means that you're not going to get negative back. So if you keep thinking, oh, it's not going to work, then you're telling yourself it's not going to work. So you're not going to put the effort in, are you? Because why would you? Because you're like, well, you already know, you're setting yourself up to fail, I guess is the better word.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm big on like laws of attraction and karma, and I love a bit of woo woo, but I think but again, the kind of principle of karma is common. Like it's normally used as like a negative response, like, oh, karma will catch them up, or when something shitty happens, it's like, oh, karma. It's like we accept that, but I think it's harder to see it on the other side, isn't it? And you're right, you're kind of, I mean, this is dipping into kind of self-belief and stuff, so I'm probably going off on a little bit of a tangent, but it's you have had that belief in yourself to create your business, and you've probably had days, as I have, when you've gone, oh, this is really fucking hard, like, but you keep going and you keep putting it out there and you keep taking the action and having that belief that it's going to come good. And the more
it'll be, in the end, it's going to be worth it in the end. Like, for today's a bad day, or you're a bit stressed, or for whatever reason, but you know that, very similar to what you said, in a year's time, you're not going to look back and say, oh God, like I shouldn't have taken that class. You're going to be like, no, I did it because now I'm going to be in a better place. And it is hard. It's not easy. Like I said, it's not for everyone. It isn't easy. I've learned a lot about myself in the last year. And I feel like a completely different person. I mean, my birthday was last September. I remember like having that like reflection. I was like, my birthday the September before, I feel like a completely different person. Like, just there's so much has changed, but it happened in such a quick time because we were in for a year, and you know, and I live by myself. So you kind of like, a lot happened, and it's like, oh wow, okay, like I am more resilient than I thought I am, or I believe in myself more than I did, because again, you don't go around like, no, I'm great, like I'm really, no one says that. So you're a bit like, oh no, I don't think I can. I mean, one thing that one of my friends actually said to me is, when I first lost my job, and the first one in 2019, I didn't tell anyone for a week. I was like, I was mortified. I couldn't tell a soul. The only people that knew was that my one friend, because she worked in London with me, and my family, and my friend said, you have to tell others. Because she's like, how would you feel if someone didn't tell you? I was like, yeah, but it's different. And she's like, well, how is it different? I was like, I don't know, but I just couldn't tell anyone. Like, I lost my job. I had a wine. I came back from London. I went to a spin class, and then it was my friend's birthday, and I went to a party. And that was it. Just forgot about it. I was like, no, I'm fine.
Wow. I mean, and you don't have to answer if you're not comfortable. What was that, do you think? What made you keep that closed?
It's because it's the idea of, it's work, it's control. There's no plan. Suddenly my plan, someone had taken me off plan, and I like to be in control. So if I'm telling someone something, I like to already know almost like the outcome of the answer, if that makes sense. And I think it's just more of, I think it's also like how you feel sometimes within a friendship group. And with me, people come to me for a solution. They're like, oh, what do I do about this? But suddenly I had to change that, and I was going to someone to say, I need help, and not help in the sense of money or a job. It's like, I just need a friend. But it was different because we've never had that type of, it's just different for me. And I didn't even think about it until after, but I just couldn't tell anyone. It was weird, but yeah, I mean, now it's a bit different. I'm trying to be more open with it, but I was like, oh, I'll be fine. And no one cares. Like, everyone's got their own stuff to deal with. Like, but you do, don't you? Because you're like, well, what's my problem bigger than someone else's who's buying a house or moving, or someone's passed away? I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, I'm going to sort it out.
Well, thank you for being so open, because I think it's interesting, isn't it? Again, it's adaptability, which I think is very important in business. But when you have to, I mean, I'm a control freak. Show me a business owner that isn't.
Yeah.
But I saw something recently. I think it was like Gary V was like, you're not a perfectionist, you're scared. And I was like, ooh, I mean, that's a bit raw, isn't it?
Isn't it?
But it's true.
Yeah, because sometimes it's the fear of disappointment. I like to be in control because I know what's going to happen. If I live with someone else and you disappoint me, then that's on you, and that makes me sad. So that's actually very true. It's not, is it? It's the fear.
I know, it stopped me scrolling. I was like, oh,
Gary.
oh, right, Gary, you kind of touched on something there, haven't you? But also, it's an interesting parallel, or I guess, because we were talking before about being in control of your destiny, so to speak. When you are self-employed and you have your own business, you are in control. But actually, you're not, either are you, in so many ways. And just to kind of scoot back on what we were talking about before with the kind of mistakes and when things don't go your way and those challenging days, you're right, I feel like my business has very much been a rapid period of personal and spiritual growth, that I've never had in a career before, never had in a job. And but I've done a lot of work on my mindset, and one of the things that I do now is when I have a bad day or I'm faced with a really difficult situation, as we all are, my first kind of trained myself to ask, what am I being taught? What is there that I can learn from this? It's not, once upon a time I probably would have freaked out and gone, oh, I can't deal with this, it's too much, and maybe I still do that, but fundamentally what I'm being presented with, a situation that's given me an opportunity to learn something and to move past, and what is that, and that really helps me with overcoming challenges, because I kind of see them as a positive thing now. If I've got something to learn.
And sometimes as well, you and I spoke about this before, was when sometimes as well is what's the worst that can happen. So, also we were talking about from This Is Us, weren't we, when we were saying, they're like, what's the worst case scenario? Because sometimes it's actually just all in your head. And you say, if you said it out loud, like, okay, the worst case scenario is, I don't know, I don't get the pitch, I don't get the client. You're like, well, there's other people in the world, isn't there? There's other clients. Like, actually, that's the worst thing that can happen. Well, okay. Suddenly doesn't seem that bad, does it? You're like, well, okay, but I'll learn from that. Like you said, okay, but at least I've done the pitch. The main thing is I got there. Like I'm a step closer than I was yesterday. And I'm the same as you. I've kind of tried to do that a lot more, and to be kinder to yourself, because like you said, because when you are working for your own company, you do everything, but actually we can't do everything. Hence the reason why people hire us to do that thing. So why don't we do that to others? And also it's like, it's okay. Like, you're not meant to be like, do you know what? I know you had the meeting with Catherine the other day. Actually, she always used to say, even Superwoman needs to rinse out her tights. So it's like, even she needs a day off. So actually that's what it is. It's like, it's okay. Yes. Like, just have a moment. Like, you're not a robot. You can't do it all.
Oh, absolutely. We need to get that on a social tile, right? That's a pearl of wisdom if I've ever heard one. And you're absolutely right, because when you run your own business, you are not letting the ego play in here, but you're your greatest asset. You need to look after yourself. And when everything is so much more intense, the importance to look after yourself is amplified. And I love that kind of worst case scenario. But also, this is something that that we do as well. On the flip side, actually, and we've talked about this before, what is the best outcome?
Yes, of
best
course.
outcome, you go in, you nail that pitch, you win that client. I think we automatically default to the fear, don't we? Like, what's the worst that can happen? But indulge a little bit. Shameless plug, something I talk about in my book. Actually, I should have had a copy, shouldn't I, just to kind of bring up. But it's what's the absolute best thing that can happen. Like, if you're thinking about starting a business, or you think, oh yeah, there's all the negatives, but daydream in the positives a little bit too, because I don't believe in regrets, but I wish I'd started my business years ago, before I didn't have my drive or my purpose or my clarity. There's no right time, but that's my one big actually, what would I have done, how much more I could have achieved if I hadn't got such a young family. But then on the flip side, that was what drove me to do it.
And also, everything in the world happens for a reason, and if you started it early, other things would have changed. And I think I'm with you. I'm the same. Now I'm like, oh god, I could have done this ages ago. But actually, when I think about that, if I'd started it before, there is people that I worked with that I would never have met then. And then, well, that's not right, because they're meant to be in my life. So actually, I shouldn't have started this. And I think, again, like what we were saying, like, I think everyone's got a path. How you get to that end of that journey is almost like your choice. And there are other ways you can go around it. But I think the way things happen it's meant to happen that way. Because if we did start it, like you said, then you might not have met this person or got this client or done this, and actually then what? You're like, it's sliding doors, isn't it, really? So you know, I think it was our sliding doors moment was now, and it's right for now. And when you, obviously you're older than me, but you know, you started your business way older than mine, but you know, it all happens differently. So
I feel a lot older than you. I
no,
mean,
I'm at the business.
no, honestly, this year, I think I've aged about 6 million years.
Botox in my like forehead now. I'm like, what is going on up there? Like, I was like,
oh, Karina, it's my eyebrows. Like, I can't take my glasses off because they just about frame how bad they are. But anyway, so we have digressed, but I'm really glad we have. And you talked about looking forward, planning. So without giving away too many commercial secrets, what are your aspirations? What is the coming year going to hold for you?
I think so. From a year's perspective, I just want to work more with influencers on influencer campaigns. So my overall goal is to basically take Girl About Social and we become like an influencer marketing agency, whether it's working with them, so actually like talent management, as well as actually then putting them out to work with brands, because I absolutely love working on influencer campaigns. I love that kind of the connection with people, and I love creating content with people, because that is one of my favorite things to do, is to create content. So I want to focus on that way. And actually from Girl About Socials itself, I actually want to follow in your footsteps, and I would love it to be a franchise. And I've been thinking a lot about this actually, because it's been a question where I was like, what do I want to do? Do I want a full team? I mean, I'd love to have someone to work with, of course, but actually the one thing that I don't like, which sounds really weird, is like, I just don't want to be managing KPIs. Like, you don't want to be in a meeting like ticking off, you know, I want to be able to work with people and help and like work and grow together, rather than it just be like focused on me, and then suddenly I have to make sure that everyone's doing their own thing. And going back to having a permanent job and I tell you how much you're worth, I want it to be actually that all over the UK, that there's Girl About Socials, but doing and working with so many different clients, but it's actually all under the one brand name. So that's what I would like to do, but I think that's not within a year, obviously.
Why not? My goodness, I love that. And actually, I'm really pleased you brought up the kind of franchise thing, because this is something that, I mean, to me, it's just an absolutely beautiful model. It's win-win all round. But I will put my hands up. When we were first getting real about and getting serious about where we were taking Alchemy, I can't remember who it was that first suggested franchise to me, and I was like, no, I just dismissed it because I had so many kind of preconceptions, you know, about what franchising actually was, and I was, you know, ill-informed. I'll be honest. And when we started looking back and drilling it down, and you know, the option kept getting pushed to me, and I was like, and I say pushed, it was my business partner was like, please don't discredit this until we've looked at it properly, which is why I love him. And then I was like, actually, this is really, this is it, because, you know, we're in the same business in the sense of like, outsource what you don't enjoy and what you're not good at. And I was like, we tell our clients to outsource, not employ, so why would I employ?
Completely.
Seems weird. And also when around this time I was kind of mentoring other VAs, and I realized that I got a real flair and passion for that, and I was really, you know, being able to make an impact on that level that was empowering and enabling and supporting someone else to go out there and do their thing.
I mean, support is this. I'm with you. I love the idea of working with people, and I even now I get really flattered when people ask for advice, because actually, you know, like what we were going back to, where sometimes you're like, why are you asking me? Like, what? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just like smiling and waving. Like, I don't know. I just wake up every day, pop a headband on and make it up. Like, why are you asking for my advice? And I love the idea of having it exactly like that, where it's supporting someone else to do the same thing rather than it just be on you. And I think within marketing and social as a whole, people buy from people. So I don't want to just have Girl About Social and it's just kind of me at the front and then you've got these people behind me, because what happens if a client doesn't like a particular account manager? I want it to be that actually they've come to you because they like you, because that's how I work now. You know, although it's Girl About Social, but you're hiring Karina Scott. So if you don't like me, there's no one else in the business to not like. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I kind of want to continue that, and it be you're hiring a person, but we just have the brand behind us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with headbands like that, you need to be the face.
Everyone will have a headband.
Yeah, maybe you could get them like branded in your colours or something. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. People do buy from people, and it is that relationship, isn't it? And again, I think that's one of the beautiful things about the franchise model. And I know, reflecting on how we work at Alchemy, it's that support and it's that collaboration. And this is why I'm so particular, and we have quite a rigid selection process, because we just this morning we were having like a get together session. We have a weekly Monday session, and we support each other. We pass opportunities to each other who we know someone's better aligned, or and again, we're sharing that knowledge and that experience together. And when you're running a business, and that's it, when you're running a business, it is quite a lonely place in the best of times. And knowing that you've got the lifeline of people that are doing what you are doing, and you're all fighting the same corner, it's powerful in ways that I didn't even realize until, like, I'm just like, I mean, I'm quite an emotional person, but when we have our quarterly team development sessions, one of us always cries. It's usually me, and they are happy tears, but you just kind of, when I'm like looking people in the eye who have gone through this tremendous transformation, and to be clear, they've done the work. I've just walked next to them as they've done it, and I just get a bit like, blows my mind.
I love that, and I'm exactly the same. I want it to be about support, and and it's like women supporting women. Like, I love that thing, and I do that within my own friendship group. We all like to hold each other accountable for, like, in a fitness perspective. And it's like, if you're having a down day, text me, like, right, come on, we'll do it together. Like, we'll jump on and do it. I'll work out with you. Like, if you just need to, like, I just can't be asked. No, come on, like, we can do it. Or sometimes it's just an encouraging voice. No, we can do it, and we'll do it together. And that's kind of what I wanted to continue, because that's who I am, and I want the brand to continue to be like that, because if not, then it's not going to be me. And I want, like you said, I want to grow together, and I want it to be, because someone might live in Newcastle, but they have the contact, so I want them to continue to grow, because, like you said, that person knows them, but at the same time it's part of the same brand, rather than it just be like, well, then we go in and hard sell. And I hate that kind of thing. Like, I really struggle with it. And I think, again, we were talking about this when it comes to like LinkedIn, and the fact that now, I think it was last year, 48%, there's been a 48% increase in voice messaging on LinkedIn. It becomes personal. It's that whole kind of personal, happy hi, rather than just being like, hello, would you like a meeting? It's like, no, I don't. Like, go away.
And I don't want to join your multi-level marketing scheme. Thank you very much.
And that's what I want to continue with, and I think that's the way the world's going to go. So
I love that, and you will, I'm absolutely certain. And love a voice note. I've noticed, I need to, like a stat, I need to put some numbers to it. You get such quicker and better response from it, don't you?
Completely. I actually work with a girl, Mel. We've never had a Zoom. All we do is voice note. We never had a phone call. All we do is voice note, and the voice note might be 5 minutes. We get everything done, sorted. Because it's just quicker. Because she's busy. She has like 2 jobs, bless her. So she's busy in the day. So she'll voice note me at 9 o'clock at night. I'll pick it up when I'm making dinner. Talk about done, sorted, fine. And I just think, why would we not? I don't want to have a phone call all the time. I just want to get it done and actually get work quicker. We can just, it's more efficient, right? Move on. And actually, you're still building a relationship with someone, because you're still listening to them talk. And, she was telling me about her new spin bike the other day. So it's not all just business. And she's like, oh, just going for a walk, like, and it's lovely. I love it. I'm like,
oh, that sounds amazing. And you're absolutely right. And it's like, I like to look at a voice note as like a non-committing phone call. You still get the benefits of connecting with someone in that way, but it's convenient, and especially when people have housefuls of children who are feral, and it's just a really nice way to instead of like
everyone, you pick it up when you're ready. So actually, if you want to voice note me and it's 6 o'clock at night, or sometimes I want to ask you something quickly, but at the same time it's out of office hours, and you don't want to mess into people's personal time, or just voice note me. Like, I love it. I think since lockdown, it's been the best way to stay connected with friends I can't see. Love it.
Absolutely. We're digressing again, but it's important. I do, I love a voice note. I do. So we've talked about kind of where you're going. So, I mean, gosh, I really want to stay talking to you, get some wine open, but we do need to rein it in a little bit. So can we have a prediction, please? If I'm going to pick up a newspaper in a year's time, or a said period of time, what would you like to see on the headlines? I mean, this can be Karina specific, business, not I know I'm making this question difficult, but there's no rules here.
You know what? It's a good question. I'm really trying to think what we could just.
I think we should have a photo of you and your glorious, yeah, Queen Karina. Queen Karina.
I would, and I know maybe it's not the best answer. I would just love something positive. I don't know what it is. I just want. I mean, I don't know. That's a pipe dream. I just want it to be anything. I don't even know. Just when you just one day just to be. I mean, in a year's time, I would love the fact that we aren't in lockdown. I would love the fact that the newspaper is saying that maybe 50% of the UK population have been vaccinated. Just something to be like, we've got something positive. I think it's just been a lot of like placid or negative. I would just love it to be actually that we're okay. Like sometimes you just go, you're going to be okay. That would just make me really happy. And I just,
I think that's an amazing. I think that's a brilliant answer, and you're right. And without dipping into another conversation about like the mainstream media, but it's feel. I mean, to be fair, they haven't had a lot to work with recently, but it is very doom and gloom, isn't it? And I think
a lot, isn't it?
Inject a little bit of positivity. Yeah. Okay, I love that. Well, it's been such a joy to speak with you today, and thank you, and thank you for being open. So. How do people get in touch with you? What's the best way to reach Girl About Social?
Actually, I'm very millennial. I'm going to say Instagram. That's probably the best way. So it's Girl About Social, but there's no I because I'm that cool. So it's GRL About Social is my Instagram, or Karina Scott on LinkedIn. But I'd love Instagram because I'd love to connect with more people and kind of on that way as well would be fabulous. So yeah.
Amazing. Is Instagram a millennial thing? Because I love Instagram.
I don't think it's for everyone, isn't it?
Well,
me on there. Voice note me on there. Like
voice note. Oh my goodness. Well, we will put those links in somewhere. And thank you so much for bringing your experience and energy. It's been brilliant.